1883, Season 1, Episode 1, 1883. I remember the first time I saw it, tried to find words to describe it, but I couldn't. Nothing had prepared me. No books, no teachers, not even my parents. I heard 1,000 stories, but none could describe this place. It must be witnessed to be understood. And yet, I've seen it, and I understand it even less than before I first cast my eyes on this place. Some call it the American desert, others the Great Plains. But those phrases were invented by professors at universities surrounded by the illusion of order and a fantasy of right and wrong. To know it, you must walk it, bleed into its dirt, drown in its rivers. Then its name becomes clear. It is hell, and there are demons everywhere. But if this is hell, and I am in it, then I must be a demon too, and I am already dead. The air was different. The air at home is heavy, like a musky soup. Here it is light, with a strange scent of pollen and smoke, like burning flowers. It smelled wild, untamed. It was beautiful. If possible could describe a feeling, that's how I felt. The whole world felt possible, and I was ready for it. All I knew of sex was rumors, stories traded amongst friends as we tried to imagine what that word really meant. Now I knew. So much I don't know about life. We learn to read, we learn rules, learn scripture and manners, and how to avoid saying or doing things that make others uncomfortable. All those things seem to be the opposite of life, seems to strangle it. But now I'm sleeping on the edge of civilization, and soon we leave the edge behind. Then no rules, then only life. What an adventure. What an adventure for all of us. I remember stories of the Great War, how it seemed man had lost all reason, that we become animals, or perhaps we just surrender to the fact that animals is all we've ever been. But there are moments where I feel we are more, where we have evolved beyond a search for the next meal or the dominance to breed who we choose, where we breathe fresh air deep and almost taste its maker. I wish I could freeze this moment. I would live in it forever, swimming in the possible, while the mud of the real is stuck to the shore. We weren't poor. We weren't desperate. The road west was filled with failures, but failure isn't what drove him. It was a dream, and the dream is coming true. Episode 2, Behind Us, a Cliff. My father won't speak of the war. When men ask if he fought, he says no. I've seen fellow soldiers call out his name on the street. He turns and walks the other way. He spent 3 years in a Union prison. When he came home, my mother said he weighed 97 pounds. Cool air rises from the ground and sends a shiver through me. Then the sun finds my face, and I am warm. The world here plays parlor tricks on your senses. I do not know what the word Texas means, but to me, it means magic. It seems even the trees are new to this place. They scatter about in clusters, like little villages, and everywhere, treasures. Everywhere there is a bounty, just waiting to be scooped up. When I looked out over this land, I only saw the freedom it promised. I knew nothing of the horror that hides in freedom's shadow. 18 years ago on this day, Lee surrendered to Grant in the home of Wilmer McLean, in the village of Appomattox. A year later, I was born. It was a Monday, April 9th, 1883. Monday was my birthday. I looked to my right and I saw my father, somehow riding vertically toward the earth. Beyond him, cowboys and cattle pushed toward us, dust following them like a cloudy shadow. The light was soft and pale and pink, like God decided to light this day with candles. And the whole of Texas spread out before me. It was the most magnificent thing I had ever seen. Freedom, to most, it is an idea, an abstract thought that pertains to control. That's not freedom, that's independence. Freedom is riding wild over untamed land with no notion any moment exists beyond the one you are living. And just like that, horror steps from the shadows and our freedom was gone. What began as a journey had become a retreat into the unknown. We were backing into the abyss, so worried our sins would follow us we didn't bother watching where we walked. And behind us was a cliff. Episode 3, River. Death is everywhere on the prairie, in every form you can imagine. In a few your worst nightmare couldn't muster. Death hides in creek beds, possesses animals. It hides in tall grass, waiting. With every death, our father moved the camp a little farther away, as if death was not the result of accidents and disease, but death is its own disease, and carelessness was contagious. But all of the perils awaiting us, sickness and snakes, bad horses and bandits, there was one thing above all that sent terror through both man and beast. There was one word so feared it was never spoken and barely whispered: river. I always thought of mothers like nervous chickens, too worried about their clutch to ever hunt for a worm. In my mind, my mother was a banker, hoarding my freedom like money. I never once thought of her as a woman with desires, dreams, and passion, though passion is the thing that made me. I lie awake at night and my dreams for this life burn inside me as if I walked to the campfire and tried to eat it. I watched my mother and I felt foolish for thinking the notion of eating fire was mine alone. It was hers first, then she gave it to me. I watched her ride and I didn't see my mother. I saw a woman, and the woman was magnificent. Looking back, there were two journeys. One was filled with danger and death and despair. The other, adventure and wonder. I was on the latter, and I loved it. I didn't know enough to know that they would collide. I didn't know enough to know how cruel and uncaring this world can be. The world doesn't care if you die. It won't listen to your screams. If you bleed on the ground will drink it. It doesn't care that you cut. I told myself when I meet God, it will be the first thing I ask him. Why make a world with such wonder, then fill it with monsters? Why make flowers and then snakes to hide beneath them? What purpose does the tornado serve? Then it hit me. He didn't make it for us. Episode 4, The Crossing. This place seems confused by the rules of night and day, or perhaps it simply ignores them, refusing to cool when the sun fades. It's as if God has not yet decided what this place should become. Will it be desert? Will it be prairie? Every living thing is armed with thorns and horns and fangs as the land wages war on itself, seeking the answer. I knew that war between what you should become and what you could become. I looked at this place and I saw my unfinished soul. I looked at this place and I knew For me, that war was over. I know what I am now. I'm a cowboy. It seems the farther we get from civilization, the more of its rules we leave behind. Its traditions, its inhibitions. The farther west we travel, the more the rules and customs become a burden. There are few things that focus one solely on the present. Terror is one, grief is another, but nothing washes the world away like the lips of another. Seems an odd custom, strangers putting their mouths together and exploring each other with their tongues. When you think about it, kissing makes no sense at all. What a silly thing, kissing. What a pointless, purposeless thing. And I couldn't wait for another. I had abandoned every memory of Tennessee, as though I was born on this journey, but I wasn't. We were leaving a place and seeking another, and the journey was the necessary, miserable road between the two. Somehow I felt immune to the dangers of this place, as if the land and I had struck a deal. I could pass unharmed as long as I loved it, and I did. I loved everything about it. But crossing the Brazos taught me there was no deal. No matter how much we loved it, the land would never love us back. Episode 5, The Fangs of Freedom. I think cities have weakened us as a species. Mistakes have no consequences there. Step into the road without looking, and the carriage merely stops or swerves. The only consequence, an angry driver. But here, there can be no mistakes, because here doesn't care. The river doesn't care if you can swim. The snake doesn't care how much you love your children, and the wolf has no interest in your dreams. If you fail to beat the current, you will drown. If you get too close, you will be bitten. If you are too weak, you will be eaten. We crossed the main stem of the Brazos River, just north of Clear Fork. Though the maps say we are still in Texas, the convergence of the main stem and Clear Fork is where civilization ends. The land of no consequence is behind us. We are in the land of no mercy now. What an odd thing, attraction. It consumes you stronger than hunger or fear or anything I've ever felt. I felt it everywhere. My hands, my stomach, my toes. The whole world faded away. No more stars or moon, no sky at all. No earth between my feet, no rock against my back. There was only us. I had known that since I was a child. It's everywhere, but it had never touched me. It had never placed its rotten finger on my heart until today. Today my eyes died. I see the world through my mother's eyes now. Yes, freedom has fangs, and it sunk them in me. I chose to love him. He chose to love me back, then chose to protect me. Then a man we've never met chose to kill him and made me colorblind. Maybe killing this man will get my eyes back. Maybe it won't, but I chose to find out. Episode 6, Boring the Devil. We move towards Doan's Crossing and the Red River and tragedy's next opportunity to ravage what's left of us. Mother says the pain will fade and the good memories will return. I suppose that's true. Every person on this planet will endure this pain until they are the cause of it for another. Someday I'll die and shatter hearts too, but that day is not today. Today I am living, and I am the shattered. Death is everywhere. It follows us like a stray dog, waiting to devour us like scraps. The pain it causes is so acute, so complete. it's hard to understand how it benefits us as a species. What purpose does pain serve? I understand desire and fear and love and how they protect us and better our lives and bring new life. But grief, if I weren't so consumed by it, it would baffle me. I laid in the grass, closed my eyes, and I saw him, laughed at his goofy hair, felt the electricity of his touch. I laid in the grass, and I loved him. Then I opened my eyes, and I could see color again. We were leaving Texas, entering the Indian Territory, and redefining our meaning of unknown, far from the cities that have paved the world away and the farms which have tamed it into a resource. We were no longer under the cloud of civilization, only sky above us now. No more walking over bridges. Out here, we swim horseback through rivers. There is nowhere to chain love to vows or ceremony. Out here, love burns through you like a fever. And when the devil comes to rip that love from you, there is no funeral with somber speeches to dull our senses and deaden our hearts. Out here, you turn toward the pain as it tears into you and you let it. When you do, the devil gets bored. He sees another soul to eat and you get to live again. Episode 7, Lightning Yellow Hair. The best way to know if land is truly undiscovered is to seek words to describe it. When you can't, you know it's virgin land, untouched by our dirty hands. To see it is to be silenced by it, made speechless by its endless uniformity. To crest the rise is to see another that is identical. One must read the sun and the stars like a sailor to navigate this place. We've seen nothing but grass for over a week. No game, no birds, no snakes, not even a lizard, and no evidence the human race still exists. But the plains are littered with bones. The dirty hand of man can go unnoticed in the city because his dirty hand made the city. But in this place where innocence is a mineral in the soil, the filth of our touch is an apocalypse. People think because it's where the rain comes from, clouds are filled with water. But how can that be? How can water float above us then fall, as though gravity only applies to the sky when the sky lets it? That would mean the sky thinks, and clouds are alive, and they decide to let it rain. But how do they decide where to rain and when? How do clouds choose to flood in one place and deny another until the earth cracks and the field becomes desert? Maybe there's no such thing as gravity. Maybe everything scientists have discovered is a lie. And when is the world laughing at us? I felt no fear. It simply became another race. We fear what we don't know. I knew what would happen. I would win the race, or I would be killed. There was comfort in the simplicity of it. Even though I could hear the hooves getting closer, I felt no fear. There is horror in every killing, even when it's justified. Even when I killed, I was horrified. But watching Sam kill was like watching a lion hurl itself into a deer. His fury was so magnificent, there was no time for horror, not even for the men he killed. I questioned my mind. I wondered if I am the one who is dead and this is all a dream. I watched him ride away and decided I must be awake. I must be alive. Then I chased after him. She wouldn't speak when we got back to camp. Wouldn't look at my father. Wouldn't look at me. I heard her crying by the fire before dawn. I sat beside her and asked her what was wrong. She said she killed a man over a horse. And now John was the only hope our family has to reach heaven. I didn't have the heart to tell her that there's no heaven to go to because We're in it already. We're in hell too. They coexist right beside each other, and God is the land. Episode 8, The Weep of Surrender. This is our third day here, the longest we stayed in one place since the journey started. One trait all animals share, people included: no matter where we are or where we wish to be, if we're there longer than a day, we try to make a home of it. But the plains are not for home building, not enough resources, no shelter. The plains are for the vagabonds, the wanderers, and the cowboys. Their home is a saddle. The sky is their roof. The ground is their bed. What they lack in material comfort is regained in the knowledge that they are always home. To them, the journey is the destination. Should they find gold at the end of the rainbow, they will leave it there and seek another, choosing the freedom over the burden of the pot. I haven't thought once of Oregon, no dreams of the ocean or snow-covered mountains. I only dream of the journey. That is all. No goal for me, just a rainbow. I have no home, which is to say, my home is everywhere. I understand my mother's worry. My choices make no sense in her world, where customs and prejudice rule, where law cannot reach. There will be customs and prejudice here too, I'm sure, but they were born of this world and belong in it. To import the traditions of the place you fled, the place that failed you, is to condemn the place you seek with the same failures. I felt their eyes move over me, felt their pity and disapproval, and it meant nothing to me. The only thing that mattered was riding away, just as I was riding away from him. As I pondered the new journey before me, making it back to him, they watched the tears run down my cheeks, and I let them. I didn't turn my face or wipe them away. Tears we can't control. Sobs and weeps are little surrenders, and I will surrender nothing to the pain. Tears may flow, but I will not weep. I am the wife of a warrior now, which is to say, I am a warrior, and warriors don't cry. Episode 9, Racing Clouds. I had convinced myself of the world's ambivalence towards its inhabitants until I came to this place. This place doesn't want inhabitants at all. Every plant is inedible. Every creek bed is dry. Though only September, snow covers the mountain peaks. Winter can't wait to have at us. Can't wait to join with the land and run us off or kill us. If land can have emotions, this land hates. It hates us, and everyone can feel it. The dress felt like a prison built just for me, choking me by the neck, digging into my underarms, flattening my breasts against my rib cage. It disguises everything that makes me a woman, from the glare of jealous women and rapacious men, as if their lack of self-esteem or willpower should be my only concern. I will never live in that world again, where the weak will rather guilt the strong than become strong themselves. No, I will stay in this world. This world doesn't care what the weak want. This world eats the weak. There was no time to think, no time to decide the right thing. Best I could hope is maybe some of them will follow me and the wagons would have a chance. I felt no pain. Perhaps it was the fever of the fight, but it didn't hurt. I thought of pushing it through, but thought better of it. As my father would say, the one good thing about problems is there'll still be problems later. Don't have to deal with them right away. I looked at my father, looked past his smile, saw his worry, saw something deeper, as if he was already in mourning, as if I were already gone. I felt different too. Felt as though my soul had been dislodged from whatever cavern in our chest the soul is connected to. I felt loose, disconnected. I looked out at the sagebrush. The colors looked different, sharper. Looked up at the sky. The clouds seemed to race above us, as if new rules applied to time and space above me. I looked back at my father, and I studied his eyes. Looked deep into them. That's when I knew I was going to die. Episode 10. This is not your heaven. The numbing shock of war is behind me now. Pain has taken its place. Hurts to move, hurts to breathe. The back of my head throbs with every step of my horse. I look at the world through the hazy lens of fever and somehow see it clearer. What is death? What is this thing we all share? Rabbits, birds, horses, trees, everyone I love, and everyone who loves me. Even stars die, and we know absolutely nothing of it. I wonder what became of them. I wonder if they staked their claim in Wyoming and built side houses, bought cattle and tried to scratch a life from this place. Or perhaps they fought the winter and braved their way to Oregon, laying stakes in the emerald fields of the Willamette Valley. But I'd seen too much of this world, knew too much about the nature of man to think that either would be their future. Another future awaited them, and it lay in the abyss of unmarked graves along the Oregon Trail. We never spoke of dreams or death again. Never spoke of the pioneers either, because there was no need. To survive the frontier, you must learn to recognize those who won't, and be weary of those doomed decisions. They are to be avoided at all costs, because their fear is tragedy's closest cousin, and tragedy is contagious in this place. There is a moment where your dreams and your memories merge together and form a perfect world. That is heaven, and each heaven is unique. It is the world of you. The land is filled with all you hold dear, and the sky is your imagination. My heaven is filled with good horses and open plains and wild cattle and a man who loves me. It is always sunrise in my world, and there are no storms. I am the only lightning. I know death now. I've seen it. It had no fangs. It smiled at me, and it was beautiful. Thank you for listening.